It's really a pleasure for me and also an honor to become the lab director at Brookhaven. In my view, there are a number of incredibly exciting opportunities for us looking ahead in nuclear and particle physics and energy, which is what this is about, in climate change, biology, national security, and a bunch of other ways. And it's a great pleasure for me to have this opportunity, and I'm terrifically excited. Focusing right on energy, which is the point of this building, energy is one of the lab's initiatives, one of its several priorities. Our interests, broadly speaking, are in energy storage, in grid, in solar energy, and bioenergy, but there are many others. And although we're known at Brookhaven for our basic science strengths over many years, in fact, in the last several years, we have explicitly been focusing on trying to have impact also in the near term in applications and going all the way from discovery to deployment. That's important to do both for solving the nation's energy problems. It's also important for us as a laboratory to contribute in that way. And that's one of the things that marks this building. It's a building in which both basic scientists as well as folks focusing on applications all across the board can meet together and work on a common goal. And so we're delighted. It's the Interdisciplinary Sciences Building #1, and we're delighted for that reason to have the opportunity to cut the ribbon today. This place, if you had a chance to look around, and if you didn't beforehand, take the time afterwards, is a hub for collaboration and innovation. It provides highly customized labs, 60 in all, for scientists and engineers to optimize technologies across the range of things I just mentioned, batteries, biofuels, and solar panels. Altogether, there are 60 labs, but if you have a chance, 4 of them really are amazing. One is a humidity-controlled dry room for the safe development of new lithium-ion batteries. That involves a close collaboration with Stony Brook University. 2 ultra-low vibration labs for scanning tunneling microscopes, a collaboration there with Cornell, and a lab for fabricating advanced materials 1 atomic layer at a time, which is the one we were just looking at back here. Beyond those remarkable capabilities, the ISB will also foster collaborations across the lab, interdisciplinary interactions among applied scientists, material scientists, chemists, physicists, the whole gamut, nanoscientists, that we hope are going to spark unexpected, game-changing discoveries that will emerge through collaboration, conversation, and sharing our expertise, not just in-house, but also reaching out to the larger community, to industry, to universities, to other national labs, and more broadly. The ISB capability will also reinforce the activity that goes on just across the street, that direction, at the Nano Center and at NSLS, and ultimately also at NSLS 2. So this is a really exciting activity for us. It's a big new step, and it's a great pleasure to be here. It's a very exciting moment. Another fact I'd like to highlight about this building, concerning its construction, I'm extremely proud of the fact that this building was constructed completely without a lost work day. 244,000 hours without a lost time injury in all the way through. And any of you who know anything about construction know that every day there are challenges, big and small, that confront the crews that do the work. So I would like to thank those people for that achievement. This is an exciting moment for the lab. We're witnessing a new era of investment in energy research, and the ISB stands as a perfect example of the way in which the Department of Energy continues to make a commitment to scientific impact generally in the basic sense, but also which has impacts in the applications and commercial world. So with that, I would like to introduce Frank Crescenzo. Among many special guests, Frank is the head of the BHSO, the local site office from DOE. He has a long history of working closely together with the laboratory to advance our common missions. 32 years of experience performing and managing technical activities, 22 of which with the Department of Energy, and much of that here at Brookhaven. Since 2005, he's been the federal project director for the NSLS-2, which also plays a significant role in advancing our energy agenda. He's also a good guy, and it's a great pleasure to have Frank here today.
Fooled him. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Brookhaven Lab. So as the manager of the Department of Energy site office, I've had a front row seat, literally, to watch the planning and construction of this facility, the Interdisciplinary Sciences Building, or the ISB as we call it. The DOE office, my office, is located probably 100 yards, maybe not even this, behind this wall. So we literally watched the building be built. And when the building was just getting started, we figured this is going to be the easiest building to oversee in the history of the DOE. All we have to do is look out the window. We didn't even have to get out of our seats. But the first thing the construction project did was dig a really, really big hole, as most construction projects do, but this was a really big hole. And they didn't neatly pile up the dirt over in the corner. Instead, they created this east-west mini mountain chain of soil that totally obscured the DOE's view of the project. But for the longest time, all we saw of the progress was an endless parade of cement trucks and the occasional sighting of a tip of a crane over the mountaintop. We often wondered whether the mountain was perhaps strategically located on our side of the hall. Nah. So eventually, though, the mountain disappeared and this beautiful building emerged. So from my vantage point, the conception, planning, construction of this building has been a tremendous success, and I want to congratulate and thank the lab project team and all its subcontractors for a job very well done, and in particular, as Doon pointed out, very safely done. I also want to congratulate and thank a few people in my office, in the DOE office, who've guided this project. First, Gail Penny, the Federal Project Director. Second, Evelyn Landini, our DOE Contracting Officer, who supported the project. And Chris Seniak, who provided safety oversight of the project, and who, by the way, was undeterred by the mountaintop. So that said, the real credit for envisioning the need and providing the funds for a building like this goes to the DOE's Office of Science, my employer, and our customer. The Office of Science long ago recognized the importance and urgency of rebuilding facilities at its national labs. From this was born the Science Laboratory Infrastructure Initiative, or the SLI program as we call it. That was the program that funded this project in this building. And the long-term, that program has been very successful over the past decade and has transformed infrastructure and laboratories across the Office of Science complex at its 10 national labs. So the long-term planning and leadership was shown by Mark Jones, who's here today, and you'll hear from him in a moment, and he's the director of the Office of Science Safety, Security, and Infrastructure, and he has helped us realize the facility we are dedicating today, so thank you, Mark. So while this interdisciplinary science building may have been just a building when in development and construction, we recognize today that it is more than that. It is a world-class research facility. And the ISB wouldn't be that without the partnership of world-class research universities, and in particular, Stony Brook University. These institutions provide joint appointments, among other things, to help BNL attract the world's best researchers to come to the ISB and also to come to Brookhaven. That old axiom, if you build it, they will come, has become, if you build it and they get an appointment at Stony Brook, then they'll come. So Dr. Stanley, who's behind me, I want to thank you very much. I know I've mentioned this many times before, but I can't say it enough. The DOE is very, very pleased, and we understand and greatly appreciate the contribution that Stony Brook makes to the mission of the Brookhaven National Lab. So there are more speakers to come, so in conclusion, I will again say congratulations to the many laboratory and department professionals who envisioned the need for this facility and made certain that it was delivered on time, on budget, and safely. This is a job well done. Congratulations and thank you.
Thanks, Frank. I'd especially like to thank you for noting that we call this building ISB, ISB1, in fact. There are three. And ISB2 is another mountain that will be just out there, and then ISB3 just over there. You should think of it as a mountain range. In fact, maybe we'll go skiing here someday. It's a pleasure next to introduce the president of Stony Brook University, Dr. Sam Stanley, who is here today representing Brookhaven Science Associates, the company that manages and operates Brookhaven National Laboratory on behalf of the Department of Energy. He's one of two co-chairs of BSA, the other being Ron Townsend from Battelle, the Executive Vice President of Global Operations, who unfortunately tried but couldn't be here at the last minute. As has been mentioned more eloquently than I ever could by Frank, Sam and all of Stony Brook University have been true partners to the laboratory since he was named as university president back in 2009. Stony Brook has long been recognized for its innovative programs, its groundbreaking discoveries, and the integration of research that it does with undergraduate students. We'll be introducing next year's roundup, the spring roundup, in a couple of weeks. Undergraduates coming to look at Stony Brook who also come over and visit Brookhaven. Since becoming president, Dr. Stanley has substantially increased the resources needed to take SBU to the next level, including philanthropic funding, which has increased, will enable the hiring of over 240 faculty in the next 5 years. That's important because we're explicitly invited at the laboratory to participate in that and grow in a whole variety of areas, from high energy nuclear physics, accelerator science and technology, photon sciences, energy sciences, and computation, among many others. This relationship really does have the chance to change the game for Brookhaven and for Stony Brook, and to set a standard for what other national lab university collaborations can be like, looking way ahead. We're committed to increasing the number of joint appointments at the laboratory and have already begun. In fact, two of the speakers on the tour, Megan and Esther, are themselves joint appointments with Stony Brook and key players in the building that we're dedicating today. Sam has been a key player in all of that, and it's a pleasure to introduce you now today.
Well, thank you so much, Doon, and good morning, everyone. On behalf of Brookhaven Science Associates and Ron Townsend, who Doon mentioned couldn't be here today, it's my pleasure to welcome you all to the Interdisciplinary Science Building, as I say, henceforth known as ISB 1. I want to begin by actually extending my congratulations to Doon on his appointment as the director of Brookhaven National Laboratory. Doon did a tremendous job as the interim director over the past few months, and I think all of us are so pleased to see him in the permanent director role, but also have fantastic expectations for his leadership. And Doon, I look forward to working with you and moving BNL forward. And again, congratulations. Do you please join me in And Frank, thank you so much for your kind words. And again, I look forward to working with you as well. And I wanted to extend my welcome to Mark Jones as well, the Associate Director of the Office of Science and DOE for facilities, as we heard. Thank you for joining us. And I also wanted to extend my thanks to the elected officials here today who have been so absolutely vital to what Stony Brook and Brookhaven have been doing together. And your support has been absolutely critical in really helping most of these institutions move forward. So Stony Brook and Battelle came together about 15 years ago, actually. It was in 1998, I believe, to form Brookhaven Science Associates because we recognize the extraordinary capabilities of Brookhaven National Laboratory. It really is a very, very special place, and the people here today, the human capital and the world-class facilities are what make it such a special place. The lab's research has yielded 7 Nobel Prizes, so that's something for Long Island to be extraordinarily proud of, and countless other honors as they've really pushed the limits of knowledge and really been involved at the cutting edge of studies of the universe and, of course, now of energy. Research that's going to make a tremendous difference, I think, to Long Island, to New York State, and to the world. And what we have in this building today is really a symbol of Brookhaven's future and its ongoing commitment to innovations and breakthroughs in science. The ISB is really going to be a center. It's going to host research that addresses both long-range problems but also immediate needs for the country in areas like energy. And so for that reason, I think it's extraordinarily important again. And as has been mentioned, it's also really a representative of the strong ties between Stony Brook University and Brookhaven National Laboratory. This continues to grow, and as Doon says, I think we really want to be a role model for all of the laboratories, national laboratories, and how academic institutions and energy labs can really come together to push the agenda forward for the nation. As Doon mentioned, in Megan Aronson and Esther Takeuchi, we have two leading researchers in the field of superconductivity and energy storage, both of whom have joint appointments at Stony Brook and Brookhaven, and they're the kind of role models of the kind of outstanding scientists we want here on Long Island doing work that's going to benefit us all. So I can't really overstate the value of these endeavors. I think they're important for the economy. I think it's really critical. The kind of new companies that can come from this kind of research are really what we need to help jumpstart Long Island's economy. And I really believe we have a niche. I really believe Long Island, this region, this area around Brookhaven, around Stony Brook, extending into NASA as well, I believe, can really become a center for energy research and renewable energy research, green energy. I think this can be the place, and this building is a very important step towards that goal. So I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank everyone who helped make this vision a reality, all the people involved in the construction of this magnificent facility. I look forward to the discoveries on the horizon and the interdisciplinary collaborations that will push science and innovation forward in unexpected and exciting new ways. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Sam, for those great remarks. In the interest of time, I cut short his introduction, but he touched on an important point, which is the key role that he plays, among others, in pushing forward Long Island's economy, especially on the technology and innovation side. So thank you for that. It's now a great pleasure for me to welcome State Senator Ken LaValle. He's a longtime friend and champion of the laboratory and its work. In fact, he was here when we put the shovel in the ground about 2.5 years ago. So for that reason alone, it's a great pleasure to have him back. He has been a key supporter for the laboratory and a true advocate for our joint endeavors with Stony Brook University as we work together to seed and grow a more technology-based Long Island. In particular, he's been instrumental in obtaining low-cost power for the laboratory, which enables us to run our big machines and research facilities and some of our smaller machines as well, and perhaps find someday groundbreaking solutions to the energy challenges that we face as a state and also as a nation. He has continued to advocate strongly for Brookhaven and for Stony Brook, most recently in the S-Grid 3 project that Sam Stanley mentioned, which is concerned with the grid, and also as chairman of the State Senate's Higher Education Committee, which has been very supportive of our science, technology, engineering, and math, broadly educational efforts. As I mentioned, he was here about 2.5 years ago to lay the cornerstone for the building. It's a great pleasure to have him back to celebrate the ribbon cutting. Senator.
Thank you, Director, and congratulations on your appointment. It's always a pleasure to be here, come for festive occasions like this ribbon cutting, because I can get to meet, renew friendships and relationships with some of the people who work here and find out what they're doing in their respective science areas. This is a great institution nationally, and it's certainly, when you mention BNL to anyone, there are just positive things because people realize they don't know what you're doing here, but they realize that you contribute to the economic value of the county and the state. The elected representatives who are here, who have been mentioned, really enjoy representing and doing what the lab needs to get done, or the university at Stony Brook, because we realize that high technology is where everything is going today, new jobs, and the area of energy is critically important to our national well-being. What is going on here and going on at Stony Brook is just incredible. And you should know, and this doesn't always take place, but the directors and the presidents and members who work in the respective institutions had good kindergarten experiences, because they really know how to get along and understand what getting along means in terms of the end result. For those of us, like Fred Thiel and myself, who go to Albany, it's very important to, in a competitive atmosphere, and you have to understand, each part of the state is trying to grab dollars that are important to each region of the state. The synergy and the collaboration and cooperation between B&L and Stony Brook is key. Just think of the nucleus of research that we have. I think other parts of the state are envious of what we have. Had the occasion to talk to the lieutenant governor, got him to come. He visited the lab and was just, you just blew his socks off. He was just really impressed. And what a lot of people say about both Stony Brook and B&L, had no idea. So symbolically, it's our job to promote what is going on, to assist you in ensuring that you have the tools to do the things that you want to do. Just remember, we're a country of symbols. I wear my symbol very proudly. I think people would know who the heck I was if I didn't have my red hat, red cap on. People wear T-shirts, sweatshirts, jackets with emblems on it. And that goes to who we are. So it's our job to make sure that in this energy area, particularly in what we're talking about today, that we keep the ball rolling ahead. And all of us, as elected representatives, will always be there to support you in your endeavors, because you represent what's great about Long Island. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator. Next, it's a great privilege for me to acknowledge someone who has made tremendous contributions to the research programs and priorities that not only led and made the interdisciplinary sciences building possible, but who more broadly has championed also the fundamental research carried out at Brookhaven. Everything from the relativistic heavy ion collider, looking into the dawn of time, to protein crystallography at the NSLS. Bill Brinkman is in his last week as the director of the Office of Science at the Department of Energy, and he has fought during the whole time, 4 years, for research funding during a period of considerable uncertainty and financial upheaval for the country. During his time, he's seen a number of accomplishments within the Office of Science. I can't mention them all, but for example, the enormous contributions made to the United States, or by the United States, to the discovery of the Higgs boson last summer, deeper probes of the quark gluon plasma, that's a personal favorite, at the relativistic heavy ion collider, and major strides in material science, in climate science, in chemistry across the board that have broadly contributed to the energy science and technology initiative that the Department of Energy has embraced. Also, he oversaw the Energy Frontier Research Centers and a variety of the hubs, for example, most recently in energy storage at Argonne. I'm going to call him Bill. Bill Brinkman has a distinguished career, in fact, in science and technology. Immediately prior to becoming the director of the Office of Science, he was the president of the American Physical Society at the same time as he was at Princeton. Prior to that, he was a leader in research at Bell Laboratories. At different times, the executive director of the physics division, vice president for research at Sandia National Laboratories, as well as vice president for research at the whole Bell Labs. The work at Bell Labs has contributed in many ways to the nation's prosperity, but in particular during those years, many components used in communications today, including advanced optical and wireless technology. As a scientist, he's famous for his work on the theory of correlated systems, especially spin fluctuations in metals and highly correlated Fermi liquids, as well as in the superfluid phases of liquid helium and electron hole liquids in semiconductors. It's been a real pleasure for me in his office and other places to participate with him in asking us hard questions about the perfect fluid that we discovered at RIC, and realizing that actually a lot of his intuition came directly from his work, which also illustrates the way in which the discoveries at RIC cross many more fields than just nuclear physics, but in fact span all of science. During the years that he was at Bell Labs, this is the earlier days, Bill was a frequent visitor to Brookhaven on a whole variety of projects. As an eminent condensed matter theorist, he contributed indispensable expertise to our research at the HFBR and across the board in a whole bunch of different ways, long before he became director of the Office of Science. It's a great pleasure for me, with sincere gratitude, to thank Dr. Brinkman, first of all, as a great friend of the lab, but also for the way in which he has stood up for fundamental science and the critical importance of fundamental science for the future of the nation during the last very difficult times within the DOE. So I wanted to thank Bill. He was kind enough to send some remarks, which I'll read. I apologize for not being able to make it to the opening of the Interdisciplinary Sciences Building. Visiting Brookhaven National Lab is always exciting because of its excellent science. The building we're dedicating today represents a new enhancement to the future of science. It will house scientists from several disciplines to work on interdisciplinary projects that may change the world. Whether it's high vacuum MBE technologies, ultra high resolution electron microscopy, or nanoscience technology investigating the nature of superconductors, storage batteries, or neurobiology, it will be of the high standards that Brookhaven National Lab represents. Being in a new modern building can have a very positive effect on a person's attitude toward their work, even for scientists who don't think they're influenced by their surroundings. I can hear him saying that. The new facility, along with the NSLS2 and the CFN, makes a wonderful combination of possible activities to enhance research at the lab. Brookhaven has an excellent reputation as a world leader of the most fundamental research, and indeed that is true today, with many exciting results coming from this facility, both in the material sciences and in nuclear physics and elsewhere. But at the same time, the challenge of our national laboratories, especially the multipurpose labs like ours, is that they be more diversified and help solve the applied problems that the nation and indeed the world faces. Today, many of these problems stem from the possibility of climate change and its possible long-term effects on mankind's existence on this earth. Efficient and carbon-free use of energy is surely a great challenge to the science and technology community. The laboratories have the opportunity to make a difference, and this new facility will certainly make this happen here at Brookhaven. Congratulations on the completion of the Interdisciplinary Sciences Building, and I wish the laboratory and its new director great success in the future. So I'm going to applaud Bill. Finally, it's a great pleasure to welcome Mark Jones, the Associate Lab Director for the Office of Safety, Security, and Infrastructure from the Office of Science. A position he's held for the last 6 years. I'm going to make him slightly uncomfortable and once again say ISB 1. He's the person responsible for numbers 2 and 3, which are coming down the pike. Mark provides executive leadership for program management of safeguards and security and also science laboratory infrastructure. As the program manager for SLI, Mark is the department's chief advocate for modernization of the Office of Science National Labs, including the provision of safe, sustainable infrastructure for all 10 Office of Science National Labs, including Brookhaven, in support of the Office of Science mission. This is perhaps less well known. I didn't know this until I pulled up the introduction. Mark has also served in DOE leadership positions in the management of programs for the environmental cleanup, non-proliferation, and ESNH oversight. And prior to joining the department, he was an engineering consultant, an environmental engineering consultant, managing environmental projects for Fortune 500 companies in the US EPA. He had a lot to do with this building. He has a lot to do with our laboratory, and it's a great pleasure to both welcome and honor Mark to Brookhaven today. Let's celebrate with some confetti.
To demonstrate that I do know something about cleanup, in addition, but this is a lot more fun. So coming here today was kind of a good news, bad news story for me. Good news is, living in D.C., the D.C. area, about 50 miles from D.C. where I live, but working in the D.C. area, I really enjoy the opportunities to come out to the labs and see the work that you all are doing. And the laboratory scientists are very gracious and helpful in helping me see the important work that you do all do here. So that's the good news. The bad news is I've got to speak publicly. I really don't enjoy that. And this, 1, 2, 3 business isn't helping me. I know, no pressure, right? But I was reminded of Davy Crockett, who he really didn't like speaking publicly either, apparently. He liked telling stories, he liked telling jokes. And so when he ran for Congress, I understand that he would get up and tell a joke and say, I really don't like speaking in public, but I'll tell you what, we'll go over to the bar. If y'all want to join me, I'll go over there and we'll have a drink or two. While all the other politicians were waiting to give their speeches. Well, they would go with Davy and enjoy his stories and jokes. Unfortunately, we don't have a bar here, and I probably couldn't get away telling the jokes that Davy Crockett got away with. So, but at any rate, just to get to the point at hand, I'm very proud of what the laboratory's accomplished here. I think other people have mentioned the important work that you all do. I think that the construction job, first of all, the design that HDR has put in place and the construction job that E.W. Howell has done is phenomenal. Took about 2.5 years to build. There were 250,000 work hours involved in actually constructing it, and not a single injury resulting in a lost day is phenomenal, I think, in a construction project. It's on the average, I think, about 50 people, on a day-to-day basis working at this facility, most of them from Long Island. And I think that's really to be congratulated. The people in this laboratory and the construction company, as well as their subs, I think are to be congratulated. I also have to put out a word. I know other people have congratulated, but Peggy Cardona and Gail Penny, and the work that they've done and the leadership for this project has been very good. This is, as Doon has said, for my program, I run the Science Laboratory Infrastructure Program. We have 30-some odd projects around the complex. About 10 of them we have construction underway, including this one now is complete, and I think we've completed about 3 now, so about 10%. We still have a renovation project that's going on here today, the RSL2, that's renovating the chemistry and physics buildings. But we have a lot of work yet left to do, and I'm a strong proponent, strong advocate for the work that the labs do. Just to speak personally for a moment, I have 3 teenagers, which is, I guess, a blessing and a curse for those of you having experience with teenagers. It's, depending on the day, more one or the other, but for the most part, it's a good experience. But I think back to my formative years was during the Apollo program, and the National Laboratories had a real special place in my heart. I dreamed of getting involved in science when I was very young, and many of the things that happened during that time frame, the technologies that were developed, we're gaining from today. So I realized that the work that we do, while we talk about trying to apply, is not always going to be the end result. We're going to end up with, hopefully, technologies that are going to be developed in the futures that my children, and hopefully at some point my grandchildren, if I let my children live to be that age, my grandchildren will gain from. But I do really appreciate all the work that you all do here. I'm very much proud of this building. And I also do want to, congratulate Frank. as the site office manager. I don't know if you still go by new site office manager or not, but certainly proud to have Frank as a colleague and a friend, and Doon as a colleague and a friend. I want to congratulate him in his new appointment as a laboratory director. But Doon, as your friend, I think you've been the laboratory director for few days, and to complete a building like this, you might want to pace yourself. But anyway, thank you all. I appreciate it and enjoy my visit here.
If Bill had been able to be here today, we would have given him a plaque. Bill Brinkman. We'll give it to Mark instead. A before and after picture of the laboratory showing all of the new construction compared to earlier years, just in the last several years. It's a remarkable difference, and it's a pleasure to acknowledge that here. So thank goodness we're near the end. It occurs to me that I forgot to thank the in-house team, the project team, people like Lanny Bates, Peggy Caradona. Thank you for that, and Mike Schaefer, and all the people I'm now forgetting because my mind has gone blank. But thank you also to the project team for their help, and especially to the whole laboratory. Without the whole laboratory working together, we wouldn't be where we are right now, and we wouldn't be able to surge forward as we plan to do in all of these areas. The next step for us is to cut the ribbon, which I think will happen outside. Please feel free to look around the building, especially some of these really, really cool labs. And thank you for coming.